Hi everybody, Audrey here from Cancer with a Smile. Today I just wanted to do a video to tell you all about when I found out I had cancer. The reason I've decided to do it today is because today is actually my year anniversary. So on the 4th of May last year I found out that I had been diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was May the 4th, I always say May the 4th be with you, more like May the breast cancer be with you. So it was a big shock, it wasn't something we were expecting really when I was only 34, so I just thought I'd tell you all about the process and what happened, because if you're starting out in your breast cancer journey, it's a bit cheesy, I hate journey, but I don't really know what else to say, then this might be helpful to you. So I found the lump in this breast here. It was actually my husband who found it, which I was a bit mortified about because I thought it should have been something that I should have identified myself. I wasn't doing regular breast exams on myself. I highly recommend once a month, on the first of the month if you can remember, to check yourself. There's lots of videos and information. If you just Google self breast exam, you'll be able to find out about that. So anyway, back to my story. So my husband found the lump. When he pointed it out, it was very obvious to me that it was there, but I had never checked myself regularly, so I hadn't noticed it was there. It was just like any other evening. It was like a Thursday night or something. So the next day I went straight to my GP. I got an emergency appointment to get it checked out. Of course, when I went to the GP, they only had a male GP, so I was a bit mortified about that, but I thought I just need to do this because it's really important and I need to find out what's going on here. So I went and saw the male GP. He was really nice and he actually made me feel very comfortable. He did an exam with a nurse in the room with me and he said, oh yeah, he could feel that the lump was there, and that he would refer me to the breast clinic at the hospital. He said I should get referred in, I think it was 4 weeks that he said to me. So I kind of waited for the referral to come in. At the appointment he'd said, you know, this is probably nothing to worry about, it's probably a cyst, it's very common to get cysts in your breast. You're young, you're healthy, it's unlikely it's anything serious. So I waited and I didn't get an appointment in for going to the breast clinic, so I eventually decided to phone up and ask about it. When I phoned my doctor's reception, they said I could be waiting up to 12 weeks for the appointment, which I wasn't happy about at all. So I ended up that I actually wrote to the hospital I was meant to go to see the breast clinic people and said, look, I'm not happy about waiting this long, this could be something serious, I would really like to be seen sooner, and they phoned me up and gave me an appointment not long after that. So it ended up about 6 weeks between me initially seeing my GP and then going to the breast clinic to get the appointment. Going to the breast clinic, I wasn't too bad about it, I was a bit nervous, but everybody had said, you know, you're healthy, it's probably not going to be anything serious, so I thought it was probably going to be a cyst. So when I got there for an appointment, it's an all-in-one clinic, so it means that they do everything on the day, which is really good, so you don't have to go for lots of different appointments. So first thing I did was I went and saw the oncologist. He was very nice. He did an exam to have a look, said, oh yes, I can feel the lump, we'll get you sent through to get a ultrasound. Sorry, my lamp I've got there is like making these funny crackling noises. If you can hear it, I'm a little bit worried it's going to explode in a minute. That's why I'm a little bit distracted by it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yes, so I'd done tons of research. I knew they were going to do an ultrasound beforehand because the GP had said that. So I researched it and I looked at pictures online. What I wanted to know was, when I was sitting in the appointment, I wanted to know what the screen would look like if it was a cyst and if it was maybe a cancerous tumour. So I knew before I went into the appointment that a cyst tends to look like a nice even circle because it grows in an even way. It's basically like a little balloon of fluid, if you know what I mean, within the breast. Cysts are very common, quite often brought on by hormonal stuff and can get bigger and smaller. The majority, like 90% I think it is, of lumps that people find are cysts. So a cyst, nice and clear and even, kind of dark patch on the ultrasound. And whereas if it's a tumour, which isn't the only other option, there are other things that you can find in the breast that cause lumps. But if it was a tumour, I knew that it would usually be an uneven pattern because of the way the cells reproduce when you have breast cancer. So whenever I was sitting in the ultrasound getting that done, I was very carefully looking at the screen to see what was coming up on it. That's what I like to do, but it's not for everybody. You might want to go to the appointment, you might not even want to look at the ultrasound. It's totally up to you. I did think it prepared me a bit more for what was coming. But it could also have you worrying because you're not an expert, so you could look and think, oh, it's breast cancer, start panicking, and then it might not be, it might be something else. But that's what I'd done. So when I was sitting getting the ultrasound, I basically lay down in a bed. The sonographer, I think that's what you call them, was beside me. I had to take my top off from the waist down. She put gel on me, a bit like when you get an ultrasound when you're pregnant on your stomach, or if you've maybe had an ultrasound on something else, you know, your gut or whatever. So she puts the gel on and she kind of goes over the area that she's ultrasounding to look for anything on the screen. And there's a little screen beside me. So when she found the lump, I was very carefully looking and I could see it wasn't a nice round even lump like a cyst. It looked kind of wobbly, like the pictures I had seen online of ultrasounds that were breast cancer. So I remember sitting and thinking, I think this is probably breast cancer. She didn't say, because she didn't know for sure, she said that it wasn't a cyst. You could tell that by the way that it looked and that it wasn't even. So she then set me up to get a mammogram. So within the same appointment, sorry, I feel something in my eye, in the hospital, which is Stobhill Hill Hospital, it's only about 15 minutes away from where I live, which is really handy in Glasgow. And it's a lovely hospital, it's really new and really modern. So within there, they also do mammograms. So they set me up to get my mammogram. It's a bit of a strange experience. A lot of people say it's a sore thing to get done. I wouldn't say I found it sore, I just found it a bit uncomfortable. You basically, there's a kind of machine in front of you and you have to hold these panels. They put little kind of, almost like a little Tupperware box onto a bit they can move up and down, and they basically sandwich a shelf underneath your breast and then pull this little box down so it almost kind of clamps it. It does feel uncomfortable because it digs in and it's a little bit sore, but I didn't find it overly sore. I mean, just the fact you're standing there topless in front of two nurses and this machine, it's not pleasant, but it's not terrible. So if you're due to get a mammogram, please do not be worrying about it. It's definitely far more important that you go and get the mammogram than you worry about, you know, showing your breasts. These women are looking at breasts all day long. They've seen hundreds of them and yours isn't going to be any different. So yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not a pleasant thing to get done, but you'd much rather find out if, you know, you've got a tumour or if there's something going on. So anyway, they did the mammogram. They checked actually both breasts. They even had to change the little, they put this little kind of box thing on and they have different sized ones, and I was laughing saying, was this the one for the girls with the small boobs like me? So it was a little box. So they did that, and I remember them looking at the screen which was round the corner. I couldn't see that, and thinking that they kind of seemed a bit serious and wondering if they knew that, you know, it looked like a tumour. So they did that, and then I was sent back down again to get a biopsy done. They didn't tell me anything about the mammogram at the time. I went back to see the same person again who'd done the ultrasound, and they did a biopsy using the ultrasound. So basically they put a needle in to where the lump is and they take a sample of the lump. They use the ultrasound machine so they can guide it and they can see what they're doing. You can actually see the line of the needle going in on the ultrasound screen. It's very cool. They give you a local anaesthetic so you don't feel it. So I have to say it wasn't sore. It was quite a bit of a strange thing to get done because she took 3 samples, which kind of made me think as well that this was maybe something a bit more serious because she went and took 3 samples of the lump. They put a kind of quite a thick needle in it. I didn't look. I don't mind getting blood taken and things, but I don't like looking at these things. I always feel better if I don't look. So she put it in, quite a thick needle, and then she kind of pressed like a button or something. I think it always was like it was grabbing a little bit of the tumour and then taking it out. When they pressed the button, it was a bit uncomfortable and just wasn't very nice to get done, but it definitely wasn't sore. And she did that 3 times. So by the 3rd time I'm going, I've kind of had enough of this. You feel a little bit like fragile, I suppose, maybe a wee bit violated. I think because it's on your breast it feels worse. If it had been my hand I probably wouldn't have minded so much. So she took the sample, she said they'll send that away, and I actually asked, you know, what could this be, and she said there was a few different options. She said, and I can't remember, but not fibroids, but something like that, that was like a kind of growth type thing. She said it could be a benign growth or it could be cancerous. So they said they would send the sample away, I would find out in a week. I went back in and saw the first oncologist again. He was very positive and said, you know, you're young, it's very unlikely it's anything serious, and we'll speak to you in a week. That week was the hardest bit of all the waiting to find out what it was, because I'd seen the ultrasound and I had in my head, that looks like the pictures I've seen of tumours. I think it's most probably breast cancer. But just that waiting to find out for sure was horrible. I found it really hard to sleep. I was very unsettled with it and I had to wait a week, I think it was. When I went back again, we went into the office. I remember my heart was racing sitting in the waiting room. My husband and I went in and he said, yeah, you know, I'm afraid to tell you it is breast cancer. The weirdest thing was I actually felt better once I knew. Like, I'd been so nervous and so anxious. I just wanted to know what was happening, what was, you know, where we were going next with it all. And I think it was the unknown that was the worst bit for me. So bizarrely, when he told me, I felt relieved and I felt more calm, just because I knew that that was that and I had to just, you know, then deal with that, which was maybe a strange reaction. A lot of people might be upset. You know, I wasn't happy about it, but, you know, I wasn't sitting crying or anything in the office. As I say, I just felt relief to know what was going on and that it wasn't all up in the air anymore. And I think because I'd looked at the ultrasound, I'd done a wee bit of research, I'd prepared myself a bit for it, so it wasn't a complete shock. He then explained that they would do an MRI to look to just see if there was any activity, if there's maybe smaller tumours within the breast that they would take out. He explained that it was a small tumour. They only thought it was 1.7 centimetres, like the size of a grape, which was really good that they'd caught it really early, and that this was definitely something that they could fix, basically. He didn't really talk to me too much about treatment, because then the cancer nurse took me away to talk about that. He explained that I would get my operation quite quickly once they got the MRI organised. They had hoped, I think, to do the MRI that day, but they weren't able to get me booked in. So I went and spoke to a cancer nurse. She was very nice. You get assigned your own cancer nurse in Scotland, certainly. I don't know about everywhere else. Who's like your kind of port of call, and they're there to support you. And she was lovely. So she took us to another kind of area. It was nice and quiet and chatted to us a bit more. She explained that because I was young, they would probably want to give me chemotherapy, because, you know, my body could take it being young and healthy, and that, you know, it gives you a better chance of not getting a reoccurrence. She explained I would then get radiotherapy, a wee bit about how the operation would happen and things, and she was very, very nice. And then they booked me in for the MRI was the following week, because they weren't able to get it done that week. What happened next? So next I had to go for the MRI. I remember being a wee bit anxious about that and thinking I'd wished it was sooner, and I was annoyed that I'd had to wait, but all in all it wasn't a hugely long wait. I went and got the MRI. MRIs are strange. It's not sore, you can't feel anything. I got a kind of drip thing put in with something that went into my body to help highlight things. Can't remember exactly what it was, and they said, you might feel this getting pumped in, but I didn't feel anything from that. It's really, really noisy. You get these kind of ear defender things. It's a big machine around you. I had to lie on my front with, I think I had like a kind of gown on open, and there was like a hole in the base of it, so my kind of chest almost hung through the hole, because it was just the chest area they were doing the MRI on. You have to lie there. It was about half an hour. I had ear defenders on because it's so loud, and they said, well, you can have music, which I thought, oh great, and I presumed they would come through the earphones, but the music was actually piped into the room, but so because the machine's so loud you couldn't really hear the music even though they'd put it up really high. I think in other places the music does come through your earphones, but not in the MRI machine that I was in. Lying there, it kind of made me think of what it would be like if aliens came down and kind of scanned you, which I know sounds really ridiculous, but that's the only way I can describe it. It was really loud, buzzy clunking noises. It sounds like the thing's kind of whirring round you because you're almost inside it. But actually when I asked the nurse, she said it doesn't move at all, which is bizarre. That's what it sounded like. It basically works with very strong magnets, and it's something to do with magnetic power, is how it builds up a picture of your body. I presume it's how the magnetic field goes through your body. I don't know the total ins and outs of it. So I had that. It wasn't the nicest thing to do, but it was all right. It certainly wasn't sore. And then I had to wait for a week for the results of that, and then go back and find out more about my operation. They phoned me up. I had an appointment booked in for the following week. I was actually sitting having my lunch just before I was getting ready to go, and they phoned and said, "Oh, can you come in early? Got something we just want to check." So of course we panicked. We went, "Oh God, they found another tumour. It's going to be something serious." So my husband's rushing me. I'm saying, "Let me just eat my lunch first." If I don't eat, I'd like collapse. I'm terrible if I don't eat. We went up and they basically said, "Oh, we've found what we think is probably a cyst on the MRI. We just want to do an ultrasound to check for that." So it wasn't anything super serious. Oh, my hand's going to sleep now from sitting like this. So I went in and they did another ultrasound and she found a cyst. And it's amazing, the ultrasound, because it looked about that size, the cyst, on the screen here. But she says, "Oh no, I'm focused in, it's tiny, it's millimetres big. So we're just going to try and see if we can put a little needle in and just burst the cyst." So that was a bit gross. Same thing again, she gave me a local anaesthetic. She put a very fine needle in, and I could actually see it. It was really cool on the screen. You could see the needle go in, and it was, the cyst kind of sitting like a little ball of fluid, and you could see it, the needle poking it and almost sliding by it, trying to get in. And if after a while I thought, she's not going to get this and this is going to be more waiting. Then eventually, and it was, I swear you almost heard a tiny little pop, and then it just disappeared. So it was just a cyst within the breast tissue, which is very common, as I said before. So then we went back, we saw the oncologist, and he said, "Right, we're glad that was just a cyst. We couldn't find anything else apart from the tumour we knew about, and we're going to book you in to have the operation next week." So that was a bit of a shock. I knew it would be quick, but this was like the Thursday and I was booked in for the Tuesday. So literally like 5 days, and that was me in to get my operation in the same hospital, which was really good because it was so close to my house and it's a really nice hospital. And then that was it. The next thing was going for my operation. So I think the next video I make, I will tell you more about that, and I'll explain the process of going through. It was a lumpectomy I had, and what they did for the lumpectomy, and how long I was in hospital and things. But that kind of sums up the process of going from finding the lump to getting it diagnosed and all the different tests they do along the way. All in all, it wasn't that long a process. It probably took about 6 to 8 weeks. I would have liked it to have been a bit quicker. I think I should have been seen a bit quicker by the breast clinic, but they were very, very busy. It wasn't their fault, and I know there's a lot of problems with budgets, and things have got tighter, so it's not because they didn't want to see me kind of thing. I think they hadn't expected me to have breast cancer because I was so young. But I have to say, overall, the experience I had at the hospital and with the care I was given was excellent. I couldn't really have asked for any more. Everybody was so kind, they gave you so much time, you never felt rushed, you could ask as many questions as you liked, you had this nurse to help you. It was a really scary experience, but it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I felt a lot better about it than I thought I was going to. The one last thing I would say is that made it much easier for us was that we had critical illness cover. Now, I have never been a fan of insurances. I think it's a bit of a con that people are playing on the fact that you're worried about something happening, so they make money from you. My husband, though, had been really keen on us having critical illness and life insurance because he worked in the bank and they had a lot of information about it. So we paid quite a lot a month. We'd actually considered reducing our critical illness and life insurance policies a few months before this because we'd moved house, and we hadn't because the deals weren't really much better that we could find. Having critical illness cover made a huge difference for us. It meant that we didn't need to worry about what we were going to do if I couldn't make money from working, if my husband had to take time off work. We could afford to have pay if we needed the childcare done. Our mortgage was paid off. It made a massive difference. Also, I think psychologically for me, I thought, well, all this horrible stuff's going to happen, but at least at the end of it, we've got something better in our lives. We're going to be financially in a better position, which was a great thing for our family. Now, interestingly, a friend of mine had actually said to me at the start of the process, and I'd thought it myself, I wonder if at the end of this you will say, oh, it was worth it for the money we got, or would I go back and I wouldn't choose to do it again? 100% I would give that money back in a flash if I could, to have not gone through breast cancer. It is such a hard process, and it takes away almost a year of your life or longer for a lot of people if you have a bigger tumour or you need more surgery. So I'm by no means saying it was worth the money we got or if it was worth paying off our mortgage, but what it did do was it made it easier for us. So if you're watching this and you don't have critical illness cover, please get it. It is worth the money you pay every month, and it makes a huge difference if you do get the shock of at 34 finding out you have got a critical illness like breast cancer. We were also very lucky, some covers don't cover that, so you need to make sure you look into what the cover we have. We had our cover with Scottish Widows because it was linked to the bank my husband worked for. But this is a real person, a real story, and it's not me trying to do an advert for insurance. I'm purely saying it made a huge difference in our lives. It made it easier for us. I hate when I see people in America who have to pay for their medical cover and are worrying about work, having to go back to work when they're on chemo because they can't afford to live. It's horrific, and we are so lucky we're in the position where we're in a country with great medical services and that we had that cover. So I'm going to go now because I've been talking all day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. Subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be making lots more videos all about my cancer experience. In the comments, maybe say if there's something you would like to hear more about, if you're starting your journey and you've got some questions. I am also on Instagram where I blog every single day about my cancer experience. I'm Cancer with a Smile. And I also write a blog, Cancer with a Smile too, so just Google me, Cancer with a Smile. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.